Hi, my name is Krista, and I'm here with the Colorado Avalanche Information Center to talk about some basic elements of avalanche awareness. We'll get to avalanches soon enough, but first I want to acknowledge AIARE, NWAC, and the Colorado Avalanche Information Center who partnered to develop this program. I also would like to spend a moment to talk about this word right here, awareness. We all have memories of becoming aware. One of my first ones was when I was around 5 years old, learning how to make chocolate chip cookies. Like any standard 5-year-old, I didn't really want to wait the 5 to 10 minutes for the cookies to cool before I got to try them out. So when my mom's back was turned, I pulled a footstool up to the counter and placed my chin straight on the hot cookie tray. Instead of getting a cookie, I got my first taste of what a burn feels like and how to get one. We all have similar stories. Perhaps it's realizing that the surface of the pool isn't in fact solid, or it's burning our tongue on a mug of hot cocoa. These are moments of reckoning where we realize that we really don't know what we don't know. Becoming aware can sometimes hurt, but it doesn't always have to. Lucky for me and lucky for all of us, as we grow older, we learn things without directly having to experience them. And that's why you are here today, to learn what you don't know about the hazards of avalanches, a basic understanding of what they are, where they are, and how to avoid them. Learning this way is much better and much safer than my 5-year-old cookie tray method. It's a long journey, so let's jump in. Here's the outline for the presentation. By the end, we hope that you will know how to define an avalanche, define avalanche terrain, and have a sense of whether you'd like to engage in avalanche terrain or not. Regardless of whether you want to engage or not, we hope to give you a sense of what the next steps are after this presentation. So let's start with the basics. What is an avalanche? Or better yet, maybe we should ask why we should care. The main bullet point here is that avalanches can be life-threatening. They can cause damage to humans, to resources, and to infrastructure, and that's why we care about them. So now let's talk about what an avalanche is. To put it simply, an avalanche is snow sliding down a slope. You cannot have an avalanche without snow. They can happen in residential areas as well as in mountainous areas. There are two main categories of avalanches. One is a loose snow avalanche and the other is a slab avalanche. Slab avalanches occur when a strong layer of snow develops over a weaker layer of snow. They release as a cohesive layer. They have a crown line, like this person standing next to that crown line. They can often break wide, and that debris can bury pretty deeply at the bottom of a slope. And they slide on a bed surface, as pictured in this photo. Loose snow avalanches are caused by weak snow without cohesion on the surface. Often, they have the appearance of a triangle or an arrow that start from a point. They can be dry and occur in new, cold snow, like in this photo. Or they can be wet and caused by solar gain of the surface of the snow, or often near rocky areas. This last photo is a perfect example of that arrow shape. They can gouge into deeper layers, and they often gain mass as they move downhill. So how do avalanches happen? Well, avalanches don't happen everywhere. There's snow all the time. They need a few key ingredients. One of those ingredients is layers. As storms arrive throughout the winter, snow falls onto the ground and then is buried by the next storm. Weather events like wind, sun, and rain create uneven snow coverage across terrain. Changing weather conditions also create layers within the snowpack that vary in strength. Think of all that snow underneath us as a layer cake. Each layer of the cake has different densities and consistencies caused by different grain sizes and grain types. Over time, these layers may be cooked by the sun or compressed by the weight of layers above or affected by temperature, changing the grains within each of the layers. The difference in the strength between all these layers, especially when stronger layers exist above weaker layers, can lead to unstable snow. The next ingredient is an avalanche trigger. The trigger could be natural, like wind, as pictured here, or a snow event, pictured here. The trigger could also be us while we're out skiing or snowshoeing or taking the dog on a walk. Another important ingredient is a slope. Avalanches release on slopes steeper than about 30 degrees. These slopes can be in trees and in open areas. The snow begins to move in the start zone, then it accelerates in the track, and then slows in the runout. Together, these three components make up an avalanche path. Note that the runout can often be less steep than 30 degrees. So avalanche paths can be small and wide, or they can be big and long. We're going to go through a series of photos, and you guys can look at and try to identify as many avalanche paths as you can see. There are some obvious ones, but there's also some less obvious ones. Let's try this one. This one's easy, so I'm not giving you much time. That orange area is the avalanche path. Now let's try this photo. Can you identify the avalanche paths here? Try and take a moment to identify maybe some of the smaller ones. Note the avalanches down in the trees. This is a good reminder that avalanches can happen in those big, steep, open areas, and they can also happen in the trees and below tree line. Let's take a look at this photo and try to look at the smaller, harder to identify avalanche paths here. These ones are pretty tricky. They're down below tree line. I guess the obvious ones are adjacent to the ridgeline, big, open, steep-looking slopes. But the below tree line, small orange paths are a lot harder to identify. The point here is that it's really challenging to identify avalanche paths from photos and also from just looking at them in person. There are certain areas that can make avalanches more dangerous. These are referred to as terrain traps. Cliffs and rocks, gullies, flat terrain like road cuts or lakes, and trees are all examples of areas where the consequence of getting caught is bigger. Okay, let's review. The avalanche recipe has three main ingredients. One is avalanche terrain, which we just talked about. Two is unstable snow caused by layers within the snowpack. And three is a trigger. If the trigger is us, that is the piece that we can control. So now we've got the basics. What's next? How do you know when the risk of avalanches or what the risk of avalanches are where you'd like to travel, say, tomorrow? We cannot control the snowpack, but we can use an avalanche forecast to learn about current conditions, and we can look out for obvious clues. The following video provides some basic information on reading a forecast.
Snow avalanche danger changes season to season, month to month, and day to day. In other words, each day is different. Avalanche forecasters track snowpack and weather conditions and provide daily avalanche forecasts for many mountainous areas in the United States. Avalanche activity is controlled by the interaction of three complex factors: the terrain, the weather, and the snowpack. Whether you are new to the backcountry or a seasoned professional, the avalanche forecast aims to make this complex subject as easy to understand as possible. The information in the forecast begins with simple summary messaging and progresses to more detailed, specific information. The first and most basic component of the forecast is the bottom line. This is take-home messaging for everyone, regardless of avalanche knowledge. The bottom line gives you simple information about three basic avalanche questions. What is it? Where is it? And what should you do about it? Think of it as a soundbite or a summary of the most important information for the day. Next is the avalanche danger rating. The scale consists of 5 ascending levels. Your chance of encountering an avalanche increases dramatically with each level. Many avalanche forecasts provide danger ratings for 3 elevation bands. For example, in this view, the danger is rated at considerable at all elevation bands. And in this view, the danger is considerable in the upper band and moderate in the middle and lower band. For a more detailed tutorial on the avalanche danger scale, go here. Avalanche problems are an extension of the danger rating. Avalanches come in many shapes and sizes. Avalanche problems allow you to better visualize and understand the avalanches you may encounter. This section illustrates the type of avalanche, where that avalanche exists in the terrain, how likely you are to trigger it, and how big it will be. This set of graphics is often accompanied by written descriptions and media that help illustrate or explain it. For a more detailed tutorial on avalanche problems, go here. The forecast discussion is an important catch-all where forecasters may provide more specific information on the snowpack, avalanche cycles, complex conditions, or other interesting topics that dive deeper into the what is it, where is it, and what should you do about it questions. Lastly, a mountain weather section is included because it plays such a critical role in both avalanche formation and trip planning. This section provides a basic overview of both the recent weather and the weather you may encounter. Each day is different. The avalanche forecast is an important starting point in your winter planning process. You are in charge. You make the choice. Visit avalanche.org to find the avalanche forecast for your area.
Well, the local avalanche forecast is provided by the CAIC. The website is made to be user-friendly, so scan the QR code and go to the website and start clicking around. The forecast changes every day, so get into the practice of checking every day that you plan on going out, and maybe even on days you don't plan on going out. Each day, the forecast should contain a danger rating, the trend for the next day, the rating yesterday, the weather forecast, and travel advice for what terrain has the greatest risk of avalanches. You can dig deeper into any of these details by looking at the discussion, local weather observations, or a variety of other tools that I really don't have time here to go over. There's a lot of information, so practice and familiarization are key to learning and using the website. So you've read the forecast, and now you're thinking of traveling in the backcountry. You should know what these red flag signs are and look for them whenever you travel in the backcountry in winter. Any one of these signs could signal a concern, and a higher intensity of any of them or more of them points to a big problem. When you observe these signs of avalanche danger, you can avoid travel in avalanche terrain to reduce your risk. Wind drifting snow can redistribute snow and build thick slabs where drifted snow accumulates. Can you tell in these photos which way that the wind is blowing the snow? Pinwheels, like cinnamon roll shaped snow features, indicate that snow surfaces are warming up fast. Other indications of a rapid warm up could be dripping icicles, or simply that you're changing layers a lot during your tour and you're noticing a dramatic warm up that way. In general, the snowpack doesn't like lots of change in a short period of time. Warming is one of these such changes. When snow accumulates quickly, it can create an unstable snowpack where the upper layers want to slide on lower layers. The faster that the snow accumulates, the longer it goes on, and the heavier the density of the snow, the more likely to create avalanches. When rain falls on dry snowpack, the snowpack can become unstable quickly as well. Rain adds a load to the top of buried weak layers, and it can weaken layers inside the snowpack at the same time. Seeing shooting cracks or feeling or hearing a distant collapse or a whoomph sound underneath you is a screaming sign that the snowpack is unstable. And then, of course, recent avalanches. If you see recent avalanches, this means that other avalanches could occur in terrain that you're traveling in. In good light, you may be able to easily identify an avalanche, like in that picture on the left. But in poor light, like the picture in the top right corner, it may be more challenging to identify recent avalanches. And then also identifying avalanches that might be far away. You have to look closely and keep observing throughout the day in order to make sure that you identify avalanches in your travel in your area. There is no silver bullet in the world of avalanches. The only way to eliminate the risk of avalanches is to stay out of avalanche terrain. Avalanche courses will teach you a basic process for avoiding avalanches through skills like terrain management, group management, trip planning, observations in the field, communication, and decision making. We won't dig into these details now, but let's take a quick look at what some avalanche terrain looks like on a map. Slope angle shading has grown in popularity as a way to highlight steeper terrain on a map. Here are 3 examples. The first, on the top left, shows a flatter landscape where the steep slopes are confined to the sides of canyons. Here, any avalanche terrain will be shorter slopes, but may contain terrain traps. The center image shows a mountainous terrain common in Colorado. You can see the steep ridgelines and areas of continuously steep terrain where an avalanche could run a long ways. The third image overlays some human features, like roads and campgrounds. Maps can really help you anticipate where you might encounter avalanche terrain on your travels, but recognize that map scales vary widely, so your ability to pick up on features depends on the quality of the map that you use and your skill in reading those maps. Now what? You've hopefully gained some awareness about avalanches, but how can you learn more? It depends on what you want to do next. If your goal is to enjoy the winter backcountry, but you're hoping to avoid avalanche terrain, these are the skills that you should start working on next. Practice, practice, practice in identifying avalanche terrain, both while trip planning as well as in the backcountry itself. Map reading skills can help with the planning part, as well as orienting yourself while you're in the backcountry. First aid skills are critical in any and all backcountry experiences. And winter travel skills and safety are also critical when you plan on engaging with winter travel. Say you want to engage with avalanche terrain. You'll want to work on those same skills, and in addition, you'll want to work on many more. Group management and communication, like mentioned previously, are skills that you start to learn in basic avalanche courses. Avalanche rescue is another course that you can take to start to learn rescue skills in case the worst happens out there. And then understanding an avalanche forecast is an ongoing process that you can learn through courses and through practicing on your own. And of course, risk management is an important thing to learn about and understand within yourself and within your group. What equipment or basic equipment do you need to carry? The basic rescue equipment is a probe, a transceiver, and a shovel. These 3 items come together as a collection. Any one piece of equipment does not work without the other 2. An avalanche transceiver, also known as a beacon, helps you find the general location of a person who is buried in avalanche debris. A probe is used to pinpoint the location of a person in the avalanche debris, and a shovel helps excavate the person out of the debris. You can't really know how to use any of these tools without taking an avalanche rescue class. Like CPR or other life-saving skills, it is recommended that you take a refresher often. Traveling in and around avalanche terrain is a commitment to lifelong learning. It requires practice and additional skills. Now that you have the awareness, we hope that you realize your journey has just begun. I'd like to acknowledge AIARE, NWAC, and the CAIC, listed here at the bottom, who partnered in developing this video. In addition, I'd like to mention Snowpool, located on the left. Click on that QR code. And the CIAC is constantly trying to improve our product and looking to get insight and information from you. So think about joining the Snowpool. I'm engaging with the emailed polls that are sent to you so that we can make our product better for all user groups. Thank you all for listening, and I wish you safe and fun times in the backcountry.